What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Rooted in Reptiles. Today we are at the Hamburg Reptile Show, so we're just gonna head in. It's gonna be packed like normal, and George is gonna spend a lot of money like normal. I'm not gonna spend anything like normal, and we're just gonna check out some cool reptiles today. You're watching Rooted in Reptiles, where you will find a ton of quality, evidence-based reptile keeping and captive breeding information. Alright guys, so we are on the way back from the Hamburg Reptile Show. There were a ton of cool animals up there, as you saw. I didn't buy anything.
Although you almost did.
I almost did. There's a proven female northern that I'm looking at, northern blue tongue skink, and I have to decide if I want to spend money on her. I'm gonna go home and look at what animals I have and what animals I do want to keep for sure and what animals I'm thinking that I'm gonna let go. I have some babies from that breeding loom from Austin that I'm thinking about letting go, as 3 of them look the exact same as one another. So I have to kind of decide what I want to do there. The female northern is located close enough to me that I can go and pick her up at any time that I want to. So I didn't feel too rushed. Fortunately, she was the most expensive one on the table, but that just seems to be how it goes. George picked up a few animals. What did you get?
We picked up a pair, what we think might be a pair of ocellated skinks. They're from Egypt. We picked up a pair of Madagascar plated lizards, dwarfer or a smaller species. Gets about 8 to 10, 12 inches at max. Live bears, pretty neat. If we can get them going, that'd be great. And we picked up a pair of yellow Gyri Euromastics, what we think is a pair. Again, the smaller one is what we think is a male, may or may not be, but we have a female already at home, so we'll put them in isolation for a couple months, make sure that they're gaining weight, doing well, no bugs, no parasites or anything, and then we'll see how they do as well.
Yeah, the female Euro that you have now is really stinking nice, so we're hoping that the other pair will grow up to be just as nice, and maybe you can get those breeding in the future. I'm really interested to see about the plated lizards and the ocellated skinks. I think the ocellated skinks are pretty neat. They're just a smaller species of skink from Egypt, so that should be interesting. I want to say offhand that they're live bears as well.
I would think based on size they probably are.
Yeah.
But you never know. Nobody's really proved them out all that, as far as I'm aware.
I don't know. It's like one of those more off-the-wall species that you don't really see people breeding so much, because you can buy them imported fairly cheap.
You can import them pretty cheap, and they're kind of treated as like some
throwaway animals.
Yeah, they're treated like throwaways, and unfortunately, that's what people think. But we're trying to change that with some off-the-wall species and
captive breeding.
Just trying to get them a little bit mainstream.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm working on as well, as far as diversification, and that's something that I was thinking about as I was looking at that northern. She's incredibly nice. I'll bring up a picture of her, probably where George's face is at.
Yeah,
but so she's extremely nice, and that's kind of what they had. Other proven females there, but none of them caught my eye like this one did.
Almost had a hint of patternless on the top. She's very white out.
Very white, has like a hypo look to her. I don't think that she's hypo. I'm not going to say that she's hypo, but just like for imagery, that, as you can see, that's what she looks like. So we'll see. We'll see, what I decide to do with the animals that I have, and I can always message the seller and go from there. Now, I'm working, like George is, on kind of breeding some more less common animals. That's what I've done as far as getting, trying to diversify. I feel very centered around the blue tongue skinks, which is fine, because they're awesome, but I also don't want to have all my eggs in one basket, I guess you would say. Not to mention I like the variety of having other species. I think that is keeps it more interesting for me, especially because the blue tongue skinks, you know, you keep them by themselves. I keep mine in racks. You know, of course I could keep them in like vision cages or something like that, but just from an efficiency standpoint, racks make sense. And because of that reason, I've been drawn more towards some more like display type of animals. Okay, sorry, we're out of the rain. Where I left off there before I kind of stopped the video because you couldn't hear me anymore. I'm trying to head more into display animals. That's why I got the collared lizards. I really like them. I think they're awesome so far. I don't have any complaints about them, and I'm having a lot of fun with them. And that's one of the things that I want to do is I want to keep things fun for myself. I don't want to get bogged down, and to me, I get stressed out pretty easily by health issues, things like that. So it's better for myself as a keeper to take my time when bringing in new animals and just pace myself. You know, that keeps things interesting. It keeps things fun for me because I get to do the research, which is one of the things that I really enjoy is researching, and I get to go over, you know, think about how I would set them up. You know, that's just something that I'm interested in. I want to have plenty of time to know exactly what I'm getting into when I buy reptiles. You know, I want to know that what I have in mind for them is a possible reality versus, you know, something that just doesn't make sense when doing actual research and finding out, you know, what an animal needs care-wise. So I intend to buy at least one more pair of the collared lizards. I might try and get a couple more females. You know, so they will be later this fall. I have some other things that I'm thinking about bringing in, you know, to try and build up a group. I haven't posted the unboxing video for those yet, or for that animal that I'm talking about, but I will here shortly, as soon as I get it kind of put together for everyone. So I really am just bringing in the collared lizards and then this other animal and trying to build those two groups up, you know, together, and that way I can focus. That gives me two other species of lizards that I'm working with, which is fine for me. You know, I'm working on breeding the feeders as well. I want to get my feeder colonies going to a good point where I don't have to worry about buying feeders online and things like that. So that's something that I am really focusing on as well, is just making sure that I can provide enough food for my own animals from what I'm breeding. That's something that I find to be more efficient money-wise, and I feel better about it because I know that the feeders are high-quality feeders. You know, when you're breeding them yourself, you can control what they're what they're exposed to, that sort of thing. And I am super, super picky about exposing even my feeders to unnecessary bacteria and things like that. I always am washing my hands a million times and spraying everything with F10. Even my phone, I spray my phone, and my phone will get sprayed once we get home. My clothes will go straight into the washing machine. I won't touch anything. I won't touch doorknobs. I won't touch anything. If I have to touch something, it'll get sprayed with F10. So that's just something that I do to try and keep my animals healthy and keep them from being exposed to parasites and diseases and things like that. But it was a fun show. It thankfully wasn't too packed. It was hot though. We actually came out to the car and kind of chilled out for a little bit. Oh, you did get Madagascar hissing roaches as well. You got a small colony of those. You got adults and babies, which is cool.
Get those cultivated, and you know, they'll start being little small feeders every once in a while as a treat, but not a mainstay because of how remarkable they generally are just as pets as well.
Yeah, and they're slower to breed. They're certainly not dubia roaches or discoids or something like that. You know, to me, I would like cringe at feeding them, I think. But they are cool. They're a big friggin' roach, and they're not too expensive in comparison to some of the other cockroach varieties, which is good. You know, because people who are interested in the invertebrates are, yeah, they're picky, and they're not necessarily looking to spend $60 on a cockroach. You know, because some of these cockroaches that I've looked into in the past are freaking expensive. You know, they're not cheap cockroaches, and that's just, I guess, the way it is.
They're just fun to keep, honestly. The Madagascars, I've had them before, sold them back then because of just, I was getting out of what I was doing at that point. But getting back into them, it's just part of a fluctuation, a diversity thing like Luke is doing here. And diversity in reptiles is never a bad thing. Having a couple things going for you is never bad. You're sticking to more stuff that's captive bred, stuff that has a little bit more track record than that, which is great. They're great to keep. It's the best way to buy animals, especially if you're unexperienced. See his video from a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I will link that video at the end of this.
But for me, I like captive bred stuff, but I also like the challenge of working with and dealing with wild caught animals. It's a little bit, you know, more time intensive sometimes. Obviously they can get sick, but it's a thing that I like to take on as a challenge. It's a little bit different, not, you know, obviously the upside to them is, especially if nobody produces them, is it's just nice to be like, oh well, that's a world's first, or that's a first generation.
Here's the ball python breeder, world's first, George.
Yeah, not exactly. We don't deal with cobra food.
I hate that. Yeah, cobra food. That's what we call ball pythons.
Yeah.
And I as cobra food. And I mean, some of them are cool and some of them are expensive. I'll admit it, but daggone, man, they're just like.
I can say I used to breed ball pythons, and they were fun at the time, but then the market fell out, as you all probably know. So
it's not even necessarily just a market thing. It's just like
they're not the easiest.
Freaking everybody has them. Everybody has them. I mean, you go up to like at Hamburg, there's probably 10,000 ball pythons up there this week.
Almost every table has them, unless they're specifically on, you know, you have the specific lizard breeders.
Ball pythons, leopard geckos, and bearded dragons. Now, we did see a lot of blue tongues. There were very few captive bred.
Some babies, but most of them are still imported.
Yes, a ton of Marukis, a ton of Indonesians. I don't know if we saw any Halmaheras. We did see.
There were a few Halmaheras, and there were about
key islands.
Yeah, there were about 6 key islands. They were all adults.
I have some videos, as you guys have seen. I took some videos of those.
We have some pictures of them. We can add to this.
Yes. I mean, there's one of the coolest things up there that I think is the morph monocle cobras. I was talking to that gentleman. Of course, unfortunately, it was really loud in there and really packed, so I wasn't able to really interview him. But we were just kind of talking in person there and talking about how interesting it is to me that he has all these morph monocle cobras. Now, they're not something, obviously, that little Johnny's going to go and get at 6 years old, but
we probably won't ever work with them.
I don't know that I'll ever work with them.
But they're still beautiful nonetheless.
Yes, but we can appreciate them for what they are. You know, we can appreciate that. Not only is he working on breeding morphs, but he's breeding morphs with something that can potentially kill him, which adds an entirely new level of difficulty to breeding an animal. Is you know, the risk that you take health-wise working with that animal. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I always check him out every time he's there. I always check his animals out because I just think that they're that awesome. Overall, there wasn't like a stupid amount of variety. Of course, I saw the freaking people buying alligators and crocodiles again. I say crocodiles. There's only one Morelen's crocodile that I saw. Of course, there's freaking how many 10 gallons of American alligators there, and you know, I see like young people there, and they're like, oh, you know, are they tame, this or that? Well, the guy shoves his hand down and spins all the alligators around in a circle like he's stirring a pot of soup, and he's like, oh no, they're not bad, and it's a flipping alligator. Like, you guys didn't drive up from Florida to come to Hamburg to buy an alligator to take it down there to put it somewhere responsible. Like, that just drives me nuts. You know,
sad is most of these people are gonna walk home and drive home or whatever, and they're gonna put in a 40-gallon tank, and it's gonna stay there for the next 5 years.
Because the guy that sold it to them told them that it'll only grow to the size of its enclosure.
Yep.
Which is, you can stunt them, sure, but it's certainly not good for their health.
And then it death rolls your arm off, and you're wondering why.
You know, it's just. It's like one of those things, you know, it just doesn't make sense. We saw one green anaconda.
Oh, there was two.
Was there two?
Yeah, there was a male on one table, female on another table.
Okay, so yeah.
They're about 15 to 1,600 a piece at 8 foot long, so get out your money for that.
Again, it's like, I'm not a snake person, you know, I'm just not interested in snakes. I mean, I am interested in snakes, I should take that back, but I'm not interested in snakes the way that I'm interested in lizards. You know, I just get more enjoyment out of the lizards. I've owned snakes in the past. I've owned those longicauda boas, but I sold them. You know, they just weren't for me, and I don't want to devote my time to something that I'm not interested in, because it's harder for me to care about something that I lack interest in. So I cleared them out of quarantine. I kept them for I don't know how long. Yeah, I had them for around a year. And decided at that point that they just weren't my forte, I guess. Okay, so we're just going to kind of go over everything that George got now that we're home. We're out here in the sun, so it is fairly easy for everybody to see everything. So these are the ocellated skinks. These are what would probably be considered a trash pet or trash animal, just because, as you can see, their price is $10, which means they were imported for probably $1. So he got those two. And
see the variance in the pattern is a little bit different. They're also a little bit different in size, but their color is a little bit different. So we're hoping that these will be a nice pair for us in the future.
Yeah, and this one does look particularly thick. So
they could come in
carrying
pregnant
babies.
Too. Who knows?
That would be amazing.
So we got those. The next thing is we got these. They're Madagascar plated lizards. We got a pair of them. What is said to be a pair of them. It's hard to sex, but they have a little bit of a blue greenish line that goes up and down on both of them. We're gonna give these guys probably about another year to go until they're ready. The male's about ready. We need to fatten him up, but the female needs about another year as far as size and age grows.
Now these again are one of those just off the wall species that you know is very uncommon. So we'll see that. Again, those were $80 for the pair. You know, they're not expensive reptiles by any means, so they would probably be thrown in that trash category.
Next we'll unbag these because they're actually in a bag. It's what we again think is a pair, and I can show you the one we have currently versus these guys and just how different they are going to be altogether. So
that's the Euromastix we expect to be a female, or that is sexed as female for sure.
Yeah. And the male's a little bit smaller, he's at the bottom of the bag.
You can see she doesn't look like she's in terrible health.
And this is part of what we're looking at. Get back here. Part of what we're looking at with these guys is oh, should have left him in there. We're looking at right in this area of the leg, right where their femoral pores are. This part of the tail, it's not very sunken in. There's a little bit there, but not a whole lot. That can be easily fixed with some hydration. And these legs, right in the thigh here, you're looking for, I mean, these are a little loose, and they will be because, you know, they're stressed and they haven't really been hydrated. But you're looking for thickness here, and if you can see the bones, That's not something that you want to get into. So that's the female. She's squirming a little bit. We'll pull the male out here.
And you want to try and buy the healthiest animals, because you want to raise the standards of these guys that sell imports. You know, if they can get away with selling sick animals that are cheaper for them to buy, then that's what they're going to freaking do.
So this is what we think is the male. Generally speaking, he's very young. We're not ready. He's definitely nowhere near breeding size. But the color is just so rich as this young male, as he was just cold, he was in the bag, he wasn't in sun. You saw in the female how she was faded out and stuff, but the rich yellow banding here is great. And he looks a little bit skinnier now, but he's also just young. Down here, again, we look at the tail. The tail is the same thing. He's actually probably a little bit fatter than hers is. And his legs, again, you don't see the bones. They're not, 100%, but they're pretty good. He's a little sunken in on the sides. Nothing a couple good meals won't get in. And hopefully he's a male. If it turns out to be a female, it'll be a pretty female.
Yeah, it'll be a very high color female.
And then we'll go find a male and not worry about it. Well, last but not least, we have some roaches that we got. We got some worms too, but everybody's seen them.
This
and
is
doesn't really care.
the Mad Hisser starter colony,
quote unquote. There's some babies in there. There's some, mid-stage in there, but you can see them. It's a pretty hardy colony. I think there's about 20 or so adults. So we'll get a good start to them. It'll be a while until they do anything major, but they're fun to keep. They're cool to look at, and they're just, honestly, they're very easy to keep, and that's why we like them so much. So we brought her out. This is what we call Trouble. That's her name, just a little pet name. And we've had her, she's in shed right now. She's not blue. That's not anything except she is in shed. But you can see on her legs you can see, yeah, you can see right here, there's a little bit. And in her tail, it's not as, it's just a little, she needs the shed soon. But you can see the difference that in this animal than the other two that we showed you a little while ago. She is thick, for one. It's a great sign. Her legs are thick. You can see there's nothing showing. She's just hardy. And in this tail is what we look for, is what we want, this rounded tail. You want a rounded tail. It's hard to see it because she doesn't want you to see it. But there's no indentation, and there's no bone. The scales aren't coming in on itself. And she's just a healthy girl. We've had her probably going on 5 years, and she started out as one of these wild-caught Uromastyx at, maybe 10, 12 grams, nothing. And she's not fully sized, but she's good enough. She's fat, she's healthy, and that's the good thing. Not obese. She moves around. She has good lighting and everything. She's kept very well. But this is time and dedication put into an animal, and again, you have to research. You have to know what you're looking for. Even here, she has a little scar from back when, and it's healed and it's fine, but it's noticeable, and it's something that you have to keep track of.
And this just kind of goes to show that it is possible. It is possible to get a wild-caught animal and turn it into a great pet, a great healthy pet. Again, it's just time, dedication, and making sure that you do have the money for if something were to come up. So we just wanted to show you guys these animals now that we're home.